You have tight deadlines, mounting external pressures, and a dozen tasks you need to finish by the end of the week. Yet, you are sitting on the couch, entirely frozen, staring at a blank screen. People around you, and often the voice inside your own head, will label this state as a sudden lack of motivation, poor discipline, or simple laziness. We typically blame this on a lack of dopamine, a chemical we have been taught to think of as the brain's ultimate reward and pleasure hormone. Modern neurobiology rejects this definition. Dopamine serves a far more utilitarian purpose. This diagram outlines how your brain actually processes tasks. Dopamine is the strict biological currency of what neuroscientists call effort-based decision-making. You have to spend it to buy physical action. When you physically cannot initiate a task, like writing an email or organizing a spreadsheet, it means that dopamine required to buy that effort is unavailable. The biological account for action has run dry. Misunderstanding dopamine as a reward molecule masks the economic breakdown happening in your nervous system. We attack our own character and willpower, overlooking the literal mechanical failure occurring inside our biology. To see where these biological transactions are processed, we have to look deep inside the brain at the structure illuminated here, the striatum. Think of this region as a strict, highly pragmatic accountant. Before you make a single move, the striatum evaluates the viability of the impending action. It performs a continuous calculation, weighing the biological cost of the effort you are about to expend against the expected outcome. It asks, is the result worth the cost we are about to incur? Everything has a price. Writing a complex research article, returning a difficult phone call, or even just standing up to turn on the shower. Each of these voluntary actions requires a precise, upfront payment in dopamine. We treat willpower as an infinite spiritual resource. In reality, it is a highly finite, measurable chemical budget, and the striatum firmly controls the ledger. When you push yourself to work on overdrive for months on end, ignoring fatigue to meet endless demands, you severely stress this financial system. Forcing continuous productivity when you are already exhausted requires massive amounts of dopamine. You push the brain into an unsustainable spending spree just to keep the work flowing. This microscopic view shows the surface of a neuron membrane. Those protruding structures are physical D2 receptors. Their job is to catch the incoming dopamine tokens so the chemical transaction can clear. But constant heavy stimulation is toxic to neural circuitry. To protect itself from damage, the brain initiates a drastic defense mechanism. The D2 receptors literally hide inside the membrane. This physical retraction is a clinical process known as downregulation. The membrane surface becomes smooth. Even if you manage to produce dopamine, the tokens bounce off, failing to connect to the hidden receptors. Back at the ledger, the internal accountant recognizes the missing receptors. It registers a zero balance, refuses to approve any further transactions, and halts all physical initiation. Hitting the wall of burnout functions as a biological safety switch, deactivating a system pushed dangerously into the red. Medical science recognizes this state of systemic shutdown as a distinct clinical reality, far removed from the concept of a temporary slump. Looking at the clinical classification here, doctors define this paralysis as transient avolition. It is the temporary, total loss of your biological ability to initiate a voluntary act. The symptoms heavily mirror severe neurological conditions, specifically the loss of psychic self-activation, or LPSA. That is how physically real and deeply neurological this paralysis actually is. The critical difference is that while LPSA can be a chronic syndrome, transient avolition is a reversible condition. Recovery requires a strict protocol. You must stop fighting yourself. Trying to force productivity right now only wastes the last remaining traces of dopamine. The brain needs a dedicated period of zero exertion. That is the only biological way to coax those D2 receptors out of hiding and back up to the surface of the neurons. The solution to extreme burnout is not a new life hack or more discipline. It requires you to declare a temporary biological bankruptcy, step away, and let your neural economy rebuild itself.